What's going on, everyone? I wanted to share that have plans. I, I have had plans, and I am working towards those plans of creating a new documentary. And I want this one to be decently high production, akin to kind of the first elevated Smash documentary I made. But I want to make it about Metro UI, which is a Microsoft design language that's sort of a footnote by now in the history of Microsoft's visual direction, but then more broadly, this trend of flat design. And I think it sort of gets, what's the right word? It sort of gets dismissed as this either, a product of the failure of Windows 8, or it's sort of misunderstood, I feel. And the story hasn't really been told well. Again, it's sort of like if it's in contrast about skeuomorphic design, or if it's, you know, an example of here's a trend in this particular era of time that Microsoft did. And it really doesn't give the full breadth and depth of the story. And my goal with it is to kind of go over the five core principles of Metro, which were sort of developed in the mid to late 90s and fleshed out by the time Windows Phone came out in 2010. And then, of course, now Microsoft uses Fluent Design, which is sort of an evolution of Metro. And I'd love to really dig into that because it really set the stage for this sort of flat design trend that we didn't just see in Apple with iOS 7 and Google with Material Design, but it expanded beyond outside of tech even to where there's a term progressive subtraction. It's this idea that things get simplified over time through better design, but it kind of has left a bad taste in people's mouths where famously with Jaguar, for example, is their logo's less iconic. It doesn't have like the actual Jaguar mark. It's just got like this new type and it's very simple. And I think, it's sort of overstayed its welcome, or maybe it's been done to death a bit and been done in a way that doesn't impress people anymore. Whereas you have to remember in the early 2010s, mid 2000s, Fruitigo Aero, I think is what it's called. It's this sort of Windows Vista look of like glossy buttons and everything's aquatic kind of a look. So there's been a lot of Aero videos that have come out recently kind of talking about it. And I think this Metro concept was really against the grain for the time when that was sort of the standard. And I think a lot of people followed suit. Anyhow, I could go on about this topic for quite some time, but my goal would be to kind of go through each of the products that represented a stepping stone in Metro UI. So you have really early on, you actually have Microsoft Encarta from 95, and Bill Flora was basically the creator of a lot of these principles, and he was pretty instrumental in developing it through Windows Media Center, of course, Zune, and then the Kin, Windows Phone, then Windows 8, Xbox, Office, OneDrive, Bing, and the Microsoft logo itself. And that was just on the Microsoft side that really adopted Metro. Then you had iOS 7 in 2013, Mac OS Yosemite in 2014, and then, of course, Google's Material Design in 2014. So I want to kind of go through that timeline, talk about how it started, how it evolved, hopefully show some concepts that haven't been seen before, hopefully shout out some of the great designers that worked on Metro and developed it. I really want to be sensitive to each individual's contribution, but also, I want to be mindful of Microsoft, maybe get in contact with them and see if they're okay with me covering this. I don't, it was difficult with the elevated Smash documentary because I actually reached out to HAL Laboratory and asked to interview developers, but they did respond, but they just said, hey, you're not really supposed to be interviewing people. We don't really allow that. So I was able to speak with some people at HAL Laboratory, but it was off the books. It was, they didn't want their names revealed for that documentary, which was helpful, but it meant I couldn't directly quote them. I couldn't really like use them as a source. So at least formally. So I'm not sure if it'll be the same with this. I mean, Microsoft seems more flexible than a Japanese owned Nintendo that's very set on trade secrets, privacy, IP protection, all those sorts of things. I feel like Microsoft's a bit more flexible. But who knows? I don't want to, again, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. So I want to do my due diligence there. But regardless, I do want to tell the story, even if I don't have all the access to all the materials or all the specifics that I would like to include in it. Anyway, I guess that's kind of a long-winded way of saying I'm working on a documentary slowly but surely. I've gotten some interviews, I have some materials, and I have a narrative that I'm building. I'm really excited about it. It's just a matter of having time to work on it and trying to prioritize it because I've got a few other things I'm working on. My wife and I had our firstborn son last month, and so I've been taking care of him. He's nearly 2 months now. Actually, yeah, he'll be 2 months in like a week or something like that. So he's very cute, and we love him. I've got that going on. I'm also looking for a new job currently, so that's gonna kick into high gear this week and the following weeks as I look for a new job. I do have some interviews lined up. I'm considering, actually, speaking of that, I'm considering talking through my experience of job searches because it's very different in 2025, especially if you're going for remote roles. You're competing with the world, and it's not easy. So I'm thinking about making a series of videos on just applying for jobs that are marketing jobs in 2025 and remote jobs specifically. So if you guys have actually watched this far into the video and have any interest in any of the things I've talked about, please leave a comment. I really love the comments that you guys leave. Also, you can mention me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. You can mention me on Discord. I'm really interested in hearing from the following and the community that I've built up over the years because it's a very interesting mix of people. Some of you maybe even remember me from back when I covered Microsoft stuff primarily. If you go to my YouTube channel, you're going to find a bunch of really weird stuff, especially 10 plus years ago. Has nothing to do with what I talk about now. So anyway, I'm thinking about going back to that a little bit. And man, 10 plus years really changes you. I cannot stand to watch most of those videos back then. And I thought about purging them, but whatever. It's part of my history. All right, that's enough talking for this video. I hope to see you guys on the next one, and thank you for watching.